guys, what is up? Today, what we're going to talk about is this. I think this is like the number one belief that limits people's ability to earn income. And I have a very special guest that's going to be joining me in just a few minutes that I'm so excited to introduce to you. And here's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about a thing that I hear entrepreneurs and business owners saying over and over and over and over again that seems like it's a very powerful statement, or that it's very helpful, or that makes them seem like they're altruistic or have a giver's heart. However, it could be the very thing that is limiting your ability to be the difference that you want to be in this world, to be the change that you want to see on this planet, and to earn the type of revenue and income that you desire to make, to charge what you want to charge and not be afraid to get it, to have clients who show up and pay you $30,000, $50,000, $10,000, $5,000, and pay you in full. And that belief is this. Now hold on to your seatbelt, because I know a lot of you have said this. It's a statement that goes a little something like, it's not about the money. It's not about the money. And we think saying it's not about the money means we don't do it for the money. It's not the same thing. Here's what I want you to understand about beliefs and things that we say with our mouths. Every belief that you have, there's a pattern that comes with that belief. Every belief that you have drives your actions. All of your actions are how you create your results. So if you say a thing quite often and you hold a closely held belief that it's not about the money, what happens is when there's opportunities for money to flow into your life, you will either miss it, overlook it, or flat out reject it because you hold that belief deep inside. Here is what I have learned. What I have learned on this journey to taking my business to where it is now. We're running a multi-million-dollar business now. This is crazy for me to even think about it in this way. Is that it absolutely is about the money. It was about the money when I was able to travel to Mexico this month. I was able to stay in Mexico for an entire month and not have to think about it. It's absolutely about the money when I can give my clients the most incredible gifts. And it's absolutely about the money when it comes to the causes and the things that I care about in the world and in my life. And so I want you to think about that. I want you to think about what have you been believing about money that seems to be a powerful statement, that seems to be something that helps you on this journey of growth and growing yourself and your company and the revenue inside of your company, that actually might be holding you back. And it could be something that you learned a long time ago. You know, growing up as a church girl, one of the things for me is in church, it was kind of beat into my head that being broke and poor and pious and all of these things was like the meek way to go. It's the way that Jesus would bless you, like the struggle, or even saying things like the struggle is real. And I had to start to shift my thought process. If God will, if it's his will that I am prosperous, that I prosper in this earth, even as my soul prospers, then that means that I should be prospering now, not just in a mansion in heaven. And so I had to start looking at some of the things that they're not even beliefs that I was walking around saying, this is what I believe, but my actions and how I reacted to situations. Like, I don't want people to think I'm money hungry. I don't want people to think this. Like, the people with the money are the people who make the decisions in the world. So why not make sure that those people are good people like you and I? And so this year for my birthday, that we did, I had an incredible opportunity to do a give back to an organization that I really, really love and adore, the founder of the organization. And that's who's here as my guest today. So I'm going to bring him up in just a minute because I want you to learn all about this organization. But I want to just share with you that money belief, that it's not about the money, is something that can shake you at your very core without you even knowing. It's a subconscious ingrained code that you have that causes you to show up in a way where you don't allow more money into your life. We were able to raise over $18,000 during my event, Game On Live, last year. Same reason. The more money you have, the more money you can give. So I'm going to bring up Jeremy. Let's see. There he is. Yo, Jeremy, what's up?
How you doing? I'm so glad to be here. I am so excited. I love what you just said about having a mindset, a prosperity mindset versus a poverty mindset. And, it's not about the money. And that sounds great. I've been in ministry for years, and um, I've only heard a few preachers or ministers say this, which is key for where I'm at, is you have to run your ministry like a business. And so often we've been taught, like you were talking about, it's not about the money. I can learn how to be poor. Listen, I don't want to learn how to be
Come
poor.
on.
Okay, it's that being poor is not something that you really have to learn. It's something you have to deal with,
Yeah.
and and so um, we're in a world where money makes a big difference, and there's a well known motivational financial speaker, and um, he said, you have to have money to change the world. Make
Yes.
your money, and then you can change it, save the rainforest, save endangered species, rescue children. But you have to have money to do that. And so I thank you for speaking that out. It was really good.
I love it. I love it. So I want to talk about Thrive Rescue Homes, guys, because this is who we donated money to when we all band together and raised over $10,000 to donate to them during my birthday bash month. I'm super excited about that. I have known Jeremy for quite a long time. And I remember when I first heard about Thrive Rescue Homes, I think you guys may have bought a child or two with you when we first met you. And I just thought to myself, now that's something that I can get behind. So I want you to share with them who Thrive Rescue Homes is, who you are,
Sure.
and what's your mission in the world.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, so there's a slogan that I've learned, and it says, "Out of my pain, I became." And so back in the early 2000s, I had launched a church, and just everything was great. My wife, we found out we couldn't get pregnant, but we did in vitro, and I had a corporate job making 250,000 a year. And in 2008, the market crashed, and I'm sure a lot of you guys remember that.
I'm with you.
Yeah, right. And we don't want to remember it, right? But we need to. And so the market crashed. The job that I was at stopped paying me for 6 months, and then they went under. My wife at the time, who had it was 7.5 months pregnant with our first child, um, gave birth to our daughter, who died at birth. Um, Basically lost almost everything we had. I couldn't even pastor. I had just launched a church. We've been going for about 4 or 5 years. I gave the church over to a friend, and I retreated. And I was like, I can't do this. And after about a year, just taking off a year, and at the end of that year, I had been praying and just kind of fasting and saying, all right, God, I'm still mad at you, but I want to know what you want me to do, because I'm not fulfilled doing what I'm doing right now. So you have to
Mhm.
lead me. You got to guide me. You've got to show me. And I felt like he said, go to Thailand. And I didn't know anything about Thailand. Although I was intrigued, and I was like, all right, cool. I was still a little leery. If that was God's voice speaking to my heart or not. And so I got online, started getting in touch with all these different ministries, and within 2 weeks, I was booked solid for 3 months. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Okay, this is the Lord. Because not a lot of people know who I am. So I just figured, wow, this is crazy. So, anyways, went over to Thailand for 3 months. At the end of those 3 months, uh, I was the keynote speaker at a pastors conference, a Thai pastors conference. And my heart felt connected with the city that I was in. I didn't know anything about the city. I didn't know why my heart felt connected. I didn't know anything about human trafficking, but I knew that I felt connected for some reason to the city. And so I would tell these Thai pastors, I would say, man, my heart, I just feel like I'm supposed to do something here, but I don't know what. And they would look at me, a couple of them would look at me with disgust in their face, and they would say, why would you ever want to do anything here? This is the Sodom and Gomorrah of Thailand.
Mhm.
Go up north. That's where all the other missionaries go. There's a better community up there. The weather's nicer. Go up there. And I would just smile and, oh, okay. But I knew in my heart something was happening. And so after that conference, I came back to America and I got online and I began to do some research. And I found out that the city that I was at was one of the capitals of the world for first of all, for sex trafficking. And I didn't even know what that was at the time. I actually had to look it up and I was just like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah.
And then I found out it was one of the capitals of the world for child sex trafficking. And
Mhm.
that literally like blew my mind. I still, even after all these years, I can't even understand how you could buy a child for sex. I just like I don't get that. And so when I found that out, I thought I've got to do something. This is something has got to be done. So I began to look for an organization in that area that took in children specifically that had been sex trafficked or sexually abused, and I couldn't find one. So when I
Mhm.
couldn't find one, I was like, okay, we've got to fill this. There's a need here, and we have to fill it. There's
I
a
love that.
challenge here. There's a problem in the world in this area, and we've got to fill it. And so Thrive Rescue was born. I spent about a year doing all the stuff that we don't think about usually behind the scenes, like incorporating and
Yes.
setting up bank accounts and websites and
Putting up
logos and
business
all.
together.
Yes, all that fun stuff. And you know, when you talk ministry, people don't usually think about that stuff. They just think, oh, go and speak in front of people, and it's like that's maybe 5% of it. And so,
Right.
anyways, at the end of that year, I thought, okay, I'm gonna go over there for 3 months again. I'm gonna hire some staff. I'm gonna open a home. I'm gonna come back to America. And at the end of that year, I felt like the Lord speak to my heart, and He just said, "I want you to move to Thailand." And I did not want to. I like cheeseburgers. I like bacon cheeseburgers. I like my gym that I go to that has air conditioning in it.
Come on.
I like I like those things in life, and you know, so I wasn't sure if it was God, and I just began to seek Him a little more, and I realized that there was peace in my heart to go, and so sold everything I had and took 2 suitcases and moved over there, and um, the rest is history. Started out with. Uh, furnishing the home that we were in. Actually, it starts out, we didn't even know where we were going to go.
Yeah.
When we showed up, a Christian businessman at the place that we were staying at came to us and said, "Hey, I know a guy who owns a home, and I think it would be perfect for what you want to do." And so he said, "I'll show you on Sunday."
Isn't it crazy when you step out on faith? It seems like everything you need just kind of shows up. You don't know how. I think that's
Yeah,
the most powerful experiences I've ever had in my life where I'm like, I know I'm supposed to do this thing, but I'm not quite sure all of the steps. And the moment you just say yes,
yeah.
everything seems to just show up that you need.
It's like I was that the movie Indiana Jones and the Holy Grail, where he steps out on that into that canyon, and it doesn't look like there's anything there to get to the other side, and he takes a step of faith, and boom, God just kind of meets him right where he's at, and there's a whole bridge that was camouflaged that he didn't even see, and I think life, it doesn't matter what you do. I've seen non-Christian businessmen apply this, and
Yes.
entrepreneurs apply this godly biblical principle to their life, where they just step out and they do it afraid, they do the things they don't like to do, they do the hard things, um, and it works out because it's a godly principle. Even if you're not serving God, when God sees you step out of faith, He's like, I like that. He's
Yes.
God is attracted to that He's attracted to that faith walk. And so this first Sunday, we show up, and this Christian business guy, Thai business guy, takes us to this home. And before I tell the rest of that, I have to say this: the year before I went, um, I got online every week, most likely like every other night, every couple of days, and I was looking at real estate in Thailand to
Mhm.
find out what it was like for sale, what it was like to rent, just all the different variables. And because I wanted to be ready. And some of the places that I liked were too expensive. So I was like, okay, some of them were cheap, but they weren't nice enough, I felt, to have kids in. And so I just looked and looked and looked and looked. And so when we got there, the Sunday happens. This friend of ours takes us to his house, and we meet the owner. He's an Australian guy, great guy. He's still a good friend today. And he gives us a tour of the house. It's perfect for what we need. Not only is it perfect for what we need, but he had added on a huge office to the home, which was also needed for Thrive. And we get done, and he said, I'm a Christian too. I really would like to lease my home to you because I know what you're doing, and I really want to have a part to play in this. And what he doesn't know, he doesn't even know to this day. One of these days, he's going to watch one of my preaching shows or listen in or something. He's going to find out. But I had seen the home online a year earlier, and I looked at it and I was like, oh my! I didn't even see the office part. I just saw the rest of them. But I said, this is the perfect home, but it was too expensive. And so he said, I really like to lease this home to you. And I said, well, how much would you lease it to us for? The price he gave us was half the price that I found on the internet. And so all of a sudden, it went from out of my league to right in my league. And we ended up purchasing that, or not purchasing, but leasing it. And we were in that home for about 8 years. And then just recently, we just moved into an acre of property with an 11-bedroom home on it. And it's got mango trees and banana trees and all kinds of different fruit trees. And it's a fence. It's walled off, so it's safe. Our kids can ride their bikes. And anyways, I could tell you story after story, but that's so good. Kind of how we got to where we are today.
So good. So you gave up everything that you had. I like to talk about the law of giving and receiving, right? When you give, it is given unto you, pressed down, shaken together, running over, right? And so you gave out of your heart everything you had to go to a place.
Hey, I had some nice stuff too. Okay. I'm not trying to brag, but I just want to I want if you're broke and you're like, oh, I'm going to give up everything I have and move to the country. That's one thing.
Right.
But I had a Mercedes ML350. I had a Mini Cooper S, which was the nicest one you could get. I had 2 BMWs. I had a Harley Davidson. That was amazing. I had a lot of stuff.
Right.
And I have to admit, I sold the Harley very last. I held on to it as long as I could. but I knew what I had to do. And you know what? Since then, God's returned that stuff, and he's still returning that stuff many times over. So
many times over. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you here, is because I knew that there were so many lessons about money, even in your journey, right? Oftentimes even when we don't have enough, and sometimes when we have enough or more than enough, we are holding on to what we have for dear life, for fear that if we give it up, it's never going to return, for fear that if we, donate a thing or give some money or invest in something, that somehow like money doesn't circulate, that it's not available, that God can't return it 100-fold. And this is such a beautiful example of where it wasn't really money, it was material things, but it was still possession. It was in your possession. You had to release it. You had been looking at the same real estate the year before, couldn't figure out a way to make it happen, even though you had money, you had a nice job, all of those things. And the moment you released what you were holding on to, that were your possessions, that's when the door started to open up. So I just love the lessons that are in this. What I would really love to do right now is I want you to share with them some of the stories of the work that you've been doing over these years. I just remember hearing these stories. And guys, this is when I was I didn't really have any money when I first met Jeremy. So I just knew that there was a seed planted in my heart, and I did some giving and some sowing and some supporting the best that I could. I have a little bit of tears in my eyes thinking about it. But I just always held on to the fact that I wanted to partner in some way with your organization in a big, big way. And so I want them to hear some of the stories of these children. This is not just a sex trafficking organization. They rescue children who are being sold for sexual favors, into sexual slavery. And how young has the youngest child been, Jeremy?
So before I tell you that, I have to say this. When we met, I didn't have any money either.
Come on.
And that's what I like about you and our relationship, and how God's connected us, because it's just amazing to watch friends grow, and when you can grow together, it's even more amazing. So
I love it. I love it.
The youngest we had was I was called by the police. A lot of times we get called by the police or government social workers, and they will say, "Hey, we've just received a child. We've just rescued a child, and we need to place them with you." And so I'll never forget this, because this was probably one of the hardest. All of our staff were crying. All of our Thai staff were crying, and our American volunteers and staff were crying as well when we were tearing up when we received this call, and when I sat them down and kind of briefed everybody. But I got a call from the police, and they said, we need somebody to come down to the hospital. We just brought a girl there. We need somebody to sit with her on your staff 24 hours a day. She is a 2-year-old. She was found crying on the side of the road, and somebody that lived near where she was on the side of the road got tired of hearing her cry, so they went outside to see who it was, what it was, and found her just sitting there, and brought her to the hospital because she looked like she needed help. And so we sent we had staff there 24 hours a day with her to make sure that nobody tried to hurt her or take her away. And what we found when we showed up was very disturbing. She had chunks of hair pulled out of her head. She had burn marks on 90% of her body. She had a broken elbow, and somebody had tried to rape her. And obviously it didn't work. She was 2. And so we just sat with her, and I'll never forget, because she did not want anybody to touch her. First of all, we had all female. We had 1 or 2 females that just sacrificed and sat with her for 12 hours a day. Yeah. And she didn't want anything to do with anybody. And the doctors came in one day. It was like the second day she was there. They came in and they gave her a checkup, and then they let us know that they were probably going to have to do some type of reconstructive surgery. And so I just remember thinking, we smiled and said, "Thank you." And I just remember thinking, and I remember saying to our staff, "She's been through enough. She doesn't need reconstructive surgery. She needs a miracle." And so we began to pray and just trust God. And like the next day, they came back again to reevaluate her and to set up surgery, because they didn't want to wait too long. And they came back, they reevaluated her, and they had the look of surprise on their face, and they turned to us, and they said in Thai, which was translated to me, but they said in Thai, "We've never seen this before, but she's healing so fast that we don't need to do any surgery on her." And I just remember thinking in my heart, that's a miracle. God just did a miracle for us, for her. And so she didn't have to have surgery. And so after about 2 weeks, we brought her home. And usually I'm the first guy that the girls see. And usually it takes about a week before a girl will know that, like, I'm a good guy. I'm not there to hurt her, that I'm okay. I'm a safe person. And so they'll usually say bye. They'll give me a hug or something. So usually when I show up at the house, the kids will say, "Sawadee Ka, Pa Jeremy." And then when I'm leaving, they'll do that too, but then they'll kind of give me a hug, and so this particular girl, for the first week, nothing. She would be off playing. She didn't care who was coming or going. She just looked like she wanted to be by herself. And week and a half went by, nothing. 2 weeks went by, and I went back to the home, and at that time I think we had 4 homes, and went to the home to visit to get some work done and have a meeting. And I got done and I was leaving, and I said, "Saudi Cup," and all the kids, "Saudi Cup, Jeremy." They all ran up to me and gave me a big hug, and the staff and everything. And then I turned to walk out, and before I could take a step, out of the corner of my eye, I saw this young girl just running over. "Saudi Cup, Jeremy," and she just hugged my leg, and she was playing with a dollhouse that we had, and she had a little princess tiara on, and it said princess on it, and I knelt down, and I gave her a great big hug, and I was like, "Somebody get a picture of this." And so I have that picture. I carry it in my phone, and obviously I can't share like
Right.
on here or at churches I go to, but I do keep it on my phone because it's a motivator. That BMW that I had, that Harley Davidson that I had, that Mercedes that I had, all the easiness of my life in America was worth every second of that young girl coming up and giving me a hug. And I know that's selfish of me to say because I'm making it all about me, but it's really about her.
Right.
For her to be able to live safely, and for her to be able to live a life of security is worth it. And so that was one of the craziest parts, experiences, I should say, that I've experienced. I remember another time, we had a girl who was, she was handicapped, and she she was brought into our home by a social worker, a government social worker. And I remember we were driving down the street one day, and she said, "I remember that building." And it was me. I think I was driving, and we had uh, uh, there was one other person in there with me. And she spoke a little bit of English. And so, anyways, she said, "I remember that building. I remember that building." And we don't force our kids to like tell us their stories. We're very sensitive to what they've been through. When they want to share, they can share. We create opportunities for them to feel safe and to share if they want, but we never start asking them questions. We're never intrusive like that. But when they start opening up, we will ask questions if the timing is right, if the experience is, if it's feeling right, we will. And so we do like play therapy, art therapy, music therapy. Almost all of our kids play music. I mean, even the younger ones. And uh, so we do that so that they can have a way to express what's going on inside about what happened to them physically and mentally and emotionally. So, anyways, we're driving down the street, and she says, "I remember that building." And we said, "Oh, okay. Did you used to live there?" And she said, "No, but I remember because my mom needed a lot. She needed money, and a man took me to that building one day, and he took me into a room, and he told me to take off all my clothes, and I took off all my clothes, and then he took off his belt, and he told me that he was going to hit me, and every time he hit me, he was going to give me 5 baht. 5 baht is like half a cent maybe." And she said, "I knew my mom needed money, so I let him hit me as many times as I could." And she said, "When I couldn't take it anymore, I finally told him to stop. And he hit me like 3 or 4 more times, and then he stopped." And she said, "It hurt so bad, but I knew that I had earned some money for my mother. And so I was going to be okay."
Yeah.
And so these are the stories that we hear on a regular basis. And um, if you feel traumatized by listening to this right now, you should be. I've been doing this for almost 10 years now, and to stay healthy mentally and emotionally, whenever I go to Thailand and come back, I have to debrief with somebody because that's a heavy load to just listen to and experience.
Absolutely.
And even when we take groups, when we take teams over, um, we brief them and then we debrief at the end of the trip, because these are the things that are going on in our world today.
Right.
Um,
We're so shielded from it because we're here, right? Even poverty, we don't see the degree. Even being in Mexico, like I was in the pretty poshy part of Mexico. And so one of my drivers was like, "Do you want to see real Mexico?" And I'm like, "Absolutely." And my heart
yeah,
is broke.
yeah,
I was like, "You've got to be kidding me. This is how people live in this particular area." And it was in the Cabo area, right? So there's Cabo that's touristy, and then there's Cabo where the people who are all working at all of those places, it's where they live. And he said, "I'm going to take you that way." And I'm like, "Please, by all means, take me that way." And this, Jeremy, is why I wanted to bring you on. This is why, guys, it is absolutely about the money. You think you being able to get a client or run a business so that you can have money flowing, have an income, that's not just enough, but that's more than enough for you to make a difference in other people's lives. I know that if you are attracted to me, you care about more than just yourself, your bills, your family. There's no us for no more. You probably already give more than you have. But what if you were a person who had more than enough, where it was pressed down, shaken together, and running over? That you could decide that because I'm listening to this today, I want to hand them a $5,000 check. Because I'm listening to this today, I want to, sponsor someone to go over there to Thailand, or go yourself because you can leave your business and it can run on its own. This is why that belief that it's not about the money, it is. And what it is, guys, this is what makes that belief wrong. What it is humanity. What it is people.
yeah,
It is about the money. Because people who have the money are the people who can make the most difference in the world, right? When you have money, you have choices. When you have money, you can affect change because money is needed to do all of these things that Jeremy is talking about. And so I wanted to attack that belief today. I wasn't sure if I wanted to use the word attack, but I do. I want to attack that belief and that thought that it's not about the money. It doesn't make you a better human being to say it's not about the money. I just do what I do. It absolutely is. And this is proof positive. He could not do the work that he does. This organization, Thrive Rescue, could not do this work in Thailand without the support of people who have money to give to support them in being able to do that.
absolutely.
If you had one thing that you could share with people and just kind of sharing your heart, what would you say?
I I would say let's take over the world. I It sounds funny, but I'm here to take over the world. I'm here to take over the world in two aspects, or three actually, if I want to be clear. One, I want to take over the world for Jesus. Two, I want to take over the world to make it a safe place for kids. And three, I want to take over the world to help people just be healthy,
Mm-hmm.
emotionally and mentally. And I think that's one of my goals, and that's, I'm already starting to do that. And so with Thrive, one of our goals is we want to have a home in every country. Right now, we're looking at India. We have somebody on the ground in India right now. We're already looking at Peru. We're looking at Mexico. We're looking at, we've already sent a team to Ghana, Africa. And we're looking at a couple of other places in Africa as well, a couple of the countries. So I was just talking on the phone with somebody else the other day in Europe, and so um, we always have to set our dreams so high that they're inattainable. And you don't want to set them that high because you can't reach them. You want to set them that high because it's going to take faith to get there. And not only that, but you might not get there in your lifetime. You need to have generational dreams, generational goals, that you set up a platform, or somebody else's ceiling or your ceiling becomes their platform to go to the next level and attain the goal that you had once you're gone, or once you're retired, or once you decide, I can't do this anymore, I don't want to do this anymore. Big dreams. Don't ever give up. I have one of my girls, uh, uh, my oldest. We're talking on Messenger and by phone, and she wants to come out here and go to university, and so she just had an interview with a Christian university here, and I'm starting to talk to some families about housing her, and we're starting to raise money specifically for her, and she never would have thought in a million years that she'd ever get to do anything like that, ever.
Yeah.
And here she is, this little Thai girl, and she graduated high school, and now she's going to go to university, and who knows what God's going to do with her.
I love it.
Yeah. And it's our partners who have changed her life.
Yes.
It's our partners. That's the connection. Like, you give $10 a month, you give $100 a month, you give $1,000 a month. You just had a part to play in that. You just changed her life forever. And she will, I know her, just the type of person she is. She'll change. She's already changing lives.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I just want to invite you, if you're pulled to partner with Jeremy and Thrive Rescue, then I put the link. It's been scrolling by, but it's there for you. Just go to thriverescue.org, thriverescue.org. You can read all about it, and you can see what the partnership opportunities are. For those of you who partnered with us during my birthday bash, we will be presenting them with that $10,000 plus check. And I'm excited that there's people like you in the world. I'm excited that there's people like me in the world. And I hope this lit a fire under some of you to shift your focus about money in your business. Because it is about the money. It absolutely is about the money. There's three last things that I want to share. And Jeremy's kind of shared some of this in his own story about how he made his decisions. But if you really want to shift how you ultimately create more wealth and abundance so that you can have not just generational dreams, but generational wealth, right? Because there are a lot of people who have generational dreams, not even because they're big dreams, but because they won't allow themselves to accomplish much because they're holding themselves back. So I want you to have both. I want you to have generational success. I want you to have generational dreams. It doesn't always have to be a story of crawling and pulling up from the top. When we can do what Jeremy just said and make what used to be our ceiling somebody else's floor and platform that they get to stand on. I know that I stand on the shoulder of giants, right? We just rebranded my company. My entire company story is about the fact that I have generational entrepreneurs in my family, none of who have reached the heights that I have reached to this point, but they were all a platform for me to stand on to begin my journey. And I'm doing the same thing for the generation next after that and after that. So let's do it on both fronts. Let's do it on generational dreams. Let's do it on generational success. Let's do it on generational wealth and money and prosperity. And the only way that you can do that is to first start telling the truth about what it is you truly desire to create. You don't have to make small dreams just so that you can seem like you're the humblest person in the world. Tell the truth about the God-sized dream that's inside of you. Who do you want to be in the world? And again, just like Jeremy just said, you may not reach it or achieve it in your lifetime, but it becomes the platform for the next generation, for the next set of dreamers, for the next set of doers in the world to be able to stand on, to take that vision and run with it and to make it come to pass. So tell the truth about what you want to create. Make a decision about what that is, because that decision is going to anchor a new belief inside of you that it can be done. And then all of the actions that you take towards those goals are going to align with that new decision, those new beliefs that you have, and watch what happens. When you step out on faith with it's already done attitude, watch what shows up in your life to create exactly what you desire. Period. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Again, Thrive Rescue, .org is where you want to go if you want to join hands, link arms with Jeremy and his organization, which we are doing here at Shamika International, because I so believe in the power of the work that they are doing around the world. And I'm excited, Jeremy, about all the different homes that you're going. I was like, yes, trying to be real quiet and, calm down, Shamika. But somebody else was in the comments doing it. So I just put theirs on the screen. I'm like, yes, let's go all over the world, take over the world, make it a safer place for children, make it a place that we can be proud of. I'm all for that. And I'm so grateful to you for coming on here and telling your story and sharing your heart with everybody in my community. I appreciate you so, so much. And I, again, am super excited about what you're doing in the world.
Thank you so much for having me. And you know what I would like to do one of these days is do what you did in Mexico, but let's do it in Thailand.
Okay. All right. I'm down. Have passport, we'll travel. I'm like, have passport, we'll travel. Definitely. Let's do it. All right, guys. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. We'll see you next time. Bye. Thank you so much for watching my show, my channel. Here's what I want you to do. If you really love what you've been listening to, I want you to subscribe to my channel and leave me a comment. No, really, leave a comment. Like right now. I'm not going to stop talking until you leave a comment. Seriously, leave a comment.